We are back. We are back on the No Nonsense Trader channel. And I'm Dave, and today we're going into some things that we're going to retest, different time frames and slippage. And at the very end, I'm going to show you some confusing stuff in StrategyQuant about slippage. So stay tuned for that. Let's get started. Okay, of course I made a blog for this. I'll put this in the description below. You're going to use this blog as a reference when you want to look for ideas on how to retest your strategies as you go through in your custom projects. So let's talk about the first part, which is part one, multi-market retesting. Okay, give you some ideas of some profit factors to set, and different major currencies that you can retest against. So for instance, if you're making a US dollar JPY, you can retest that on a GBP US dollar or a Euro US dollar. There are some ideas on what to retest things on. If you're doing a Forex cross, you can use one of these to test in your one of your retests. Forex exotics, I'll give you some ideas there. And then CFDs. Okay, so if you're doing a Dow Jones, you can retest it on S&P 500 and NASDAQ. So, okay, I was going to quickly go over to StrategyQuant. Just give me a second. Gold. You can people don't in StrategyQuant don't recommend retesting this on other commodities because it moves so different, so they don't. But you could retest it on one of these and see if your strategy's good. Some crypto ideas to retest as well. Let's go in StrategyQuant and try to fill in what I'm talking about retesting on other foreign currencies. Some people might not know what I'm talking about. So all the nerdy people understand probably what I'm talking about, but half of you probably don't. So in StrategyQuant, you build a strategy, you test it in out of samples, but then you also want to test it in other markets. So if you're making this one, for instance, is GBP JPY on hour one charts, you're going to test it in hour one charts, but in other markets. So you're going to see how the strategy holds up in Euro JPY and US dollar JPY. Yep, and that's what I'm talking about. So let's go back to my blog. So you're using this blog as a reference to get some ideas. If you're making a Dow Jones strategy, what are you going to retest it on? What other markets? Well, you can use this blog to come back and take a look and give you some ideas. Now let's keep on going. The next part, you're going to retest it in other time frames. So now, but what time frames, right? So this chart right here can explain all those things. So if you were creating an hour one strategy, on the hourly chart, we are going to do a time frame lower on the minute 30 and a time frame higher on the hour 4. And this chart is just to guide you with that. Just to give you an idea, if you're doing a daily chart, you're going to test it on a lower time frame, an hour 4, and a higher time frame, week 1 charts. I'll go into StrategyQuant right now and I'll explain what that looks like. So we're in StrategyQuant and we're in the custom projects and we're in a gold strategy for hour 1 charts. And this strategy is not being tested on other markets, but it is being tested in different time frames. So because it's an hour 1 strategy, it's being tested on a lower time frame, a minute 30, and then a higher time frame, an hour 4. And so the chart in the blog helps you figure out what other time frames you're going to retest it on. And finally, I'm going to get into slippage, and let's look at slippage right now. So for those of you who don't know, slippage happens when a news event happens or just something happens, like maybe Trump says something crazy and the markets go wild, and then there's some slippage. Okay, sometimes there's just regular slippage, just everyday slippage, maybe after hours slippage where there's a bigger spread. How's your strategy going to do in those high slippage events? And that's what you're retesting it on. So here's a chart, just for some forex pairs of what normal slippage looks like. Okay, and which is pretty much the spread. Okay, and then a high slippage event, or just high slippage, you know, when the trades are happening and you're just getting a lot of slippage on all the trades. And, you know, so how is your strategy doing during those? Is it going to pass? Is it still profitable? And that's what you're testing here. So here's this chart, and it explains slippage to you. Okay, and it all seems so easy, and it really is when it comes to Forex, but it gets very confusing once you get into CFDs, because although it looks simple here, they're quoted with different tick steps. And so I'm going to explain what that is in StrategyQuant and how confusing it is. And let's go look at that. Okay, let's go to the builder, and then we're going to click on full settings, go to data, and then we're going to look right here at the symbols, and we're going to look at this one. So it says USA 500. Okay, what that means is S&P 500. That's a CFD. And then we're going to click on this one, which is FTMO, the prop firm. That's the data from it. Click on that. And we see right here it says the spread is 28 pips. So that's in between the buy and the sell, right? Okay. And then we're going to click on this one where it says S&P 500 Robo Forex. Spread is only 4. So why is it so different? And I'm going to explain why it's so different. And so let's first go back to, let's go back to this one and say 28 spread. Okay, and 4, those are so different. So let's just take a look at the technical part so you can understand why they're so different. And then when you come across another one that is different, you're going to understand why. So we're going to make something super easy. We're just going to do a trend following strategy in MT5, and we're going to use the first example here, this S&P 500 FTMO data. Okay, we've got 0 strategies in here, but we're going to start building something. So, okay, we're going to stop it because we have some strategies. Now, let's open up this strategy. We're going to look at the list of trades. And let's take a look at this part where it's got the open price. So it says 1354, and then it's got a decimal 74. Okay, now that's how the price is quoted in this broker. Okay, we're going to delete all these, but just remember that we got the decimal and then a 74. So now we're going to go back and do the same thing, but we're going to do it for the Robo FX. Remember, that one's different. It just had 4 for the spread. So why was it so different? Okay, let's take a look. Stop it. Okay, now look at here. It says 1313 and then decimal 7. Okay, it's being quoted differently. So essentially what it's doing is it's omitting, it's being quoted differently. They're rounding it up. And so then when you go back into the full settings and then you see the spread and it says only 4, but then if you used TMO data and it says 28, well, really, this is rounded up, so it's 3, right? So 8 rounds up to 3 on this 2, right? So then actually the spread here is actually 3 pips if it was quoted in RoboFX, and this one is 4. So the spread's just a 1 pip bigger, but it looks like it's 20. It's just quoted differently because the way the broker displays its price are different, and so the spread here is actually less, right? It's 2.8 or sorry 28, but with that extra decimal point, right? So it's only 3 if this was in RoboFX. Okay, so now hopefully you understand that, but then it gets more confusing once you start going more and more into different ones, like this one right here. This is NASDAQ. Okay, now right here the spread is 100, and if you look at Dukascopy NASDAQ, that's NQ, it's 1,503. So again, it's that the way it's quoted. So this one's just quoted more precisely, I guess you could say, and the other ones are rounded up. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, but it's super confusing. When I first came across this, for me, I was really confused. And the way to figure out your data and get your data right is to use the broker profiles. So really easy if you can just choose a broker from here. Now I'm using IC Markets, and that's only because they accept Japanese residents. Okay, that's the only reason I'm using them, not because they're super special or I really like them. It's because actually no one else will accept Japanese residents. Dukascopy has its own Japanese broker, which is different than this Dukascopy, and they don't have MT5, they only have MT4, so I ended up just going with IC Markets. Hit the like button if you love lots of details, because that's what it takes to be a strategy quant trader. You've got to know these details. They're all important. So hit the like button if you like details. And I will have the blog below so you can check them out. Use this as a reference, and hopefully you find it helpful. I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.